right, we are here at my urban worm bag, and inside this hole right here used to be a whole entire Halloween pumpkin. Now we took a time lapse over 21 days, and let me show you how I set up the experiment first. To start it off, we put in bigger bedding, including cardboard rolls and paper towels. Then we dumped in a bunch of dry shredded cardboard. Next, we put in the whole carved pumpkin, stem and all, filled with shredded cardboard that we put inside. Finally, we surrounded it with a whole bunch of dry shredded cardboard and dumped a bunch of coffee grounds all around it and in its mouth. So let's go ahead and find out what the worms did with it over the last 22 days. That was so cool. And when it was happening, it looked like the pumpkin was kind of getting devoured in 3 separate phases. First, it released a lot of its liquid. Then the molds and mites took over, almost prepping it for the worms. And finally, the worms devoured the whole thing. And I just want to kind of go around the edges because we put a lot of dry shredded cardboard in here at first, and there's even worms amongst it. And because we did that, what I did was in between every time we did a little bit of filming, I went ahead and sprayed it with a spray bottle. And it does look like on the edges, it's still a little dry. If I had to do the experiment over again, I would totally wet the cardboard first before putting it in here. But I'm surprised that they actually made it through. But let's go ahead and dig right here in the center and see if they ate all that pumpkin or if, like the last time we went in here, they kind of left some remnants. And it does feel just a little bit warm. So I'm wondering if they ate it all. I'm seeing a bit of a dry part. I wonder if that was what was inside the pumpkin. Oh, there is still some left from the bottom, but check it out. There are all kinds of worms in there. Lots of babies and adults and juveniles. Oh my gosh, they are all the way through this. So, wow. It's almost like it was a little nursery in there. Holy mackerel. Let me keep digging out underneath and see how much they ate. That was the thing. When we lifted the lid every time, or unzipped it, I guess, we couldn't tell whether the worms were eating from underneath. I wish there was some way to have a camera underneath to check all that out. And they certainly separated the stem from the pumpkin. That is pretty neat. Little porous holes. I mean, they devoured every little part. You can see a little worm right there. One there as well. So we're going to keep that in there. That's going to be in there probably the whole year before it totally gets eaten out, maybe even longer. And I'm feeling a little mushiness right here and actually a little bit of warmth, not too much, but whoa, check that out. That is phenomenal. Wow. I'm surprised. It's actually 25 days. I actually got a reprieve for 3 days from doing the time lapse, and this is all that's left of that. I wish I had weighed the pumpkin beforehand because these worms totally devoured most of it just like that. Let me dig a little bit under here. I'm still feeling just a little bit. And flip it over. Yep, just some right here. What is this? This looks like maybe, yep, this was a paper towel. That looks like it got matted down, as well as it looks like maybe a toilet paper roll. Same kind of thing. That's why I love the shredded cardboard. It kind of keeps everything a little bit airy so things don't get matted down. And when they get matted down, the worms really can't get to them. The microbes don't really get to them. So it just takes a little bit longer. But the worms do hide inside of them. So let me dig around here a little bit more. Just kind of bring up anything else. Yeah, things are looking great. Now, I will say we are going to have to add a lot of, moisture. I think we're going to do that through the food. So I'm not going to put as much bedding in here because we have a whole lot for them to work on. So let me just mix things up a little bit better. And then we are going to go ahead and begin a whole nother big feeding for them. I just found what remains of the Floofah, and it is completely gone except for a little bit of the string and a little bit of the tag. So, oh my gosh, the tag is really delicate right now. So it is decomposing. The microbes and worms are eating it, but I'm gonna attempt to remember to put this where we put our feeding. I got a little buddy worm right here. So things are looking great. I am going to kind of change up what I was gonna do in here. I'm not gonna put a whole bunch more bedding because I think we've got a lot and it is bulking up pretty nicely. In here is still a little bit of that, just remnants of the pumpkin and some of the bigger bedding that we put in here. So I think we're gonna skip bigger bedding for now as well. I had planned to put some in, but let's go ahead and make a hole right here. Or you know what, we're not gonna make a hole. We're just gonna kind of put food down everywhere. I'll just spread out some of the bedding just like that. And we're just gonna kind of put a flat feeding all around this, just like that. So here's what we had in mind, a bunch of food that I've been collecting in my freezer. And I don't think that they're gonna have a problem eating all of this after, you know, taking care of that pumpkin in just 3 weeks. And this is some onion, a lot of banana peels. They're a little bit longer food. We've got some of their favorites like strawberry tops. Apples are kind of a medium food when it comes to fast or slow. We've got some grapes, and I'm just gonna kind of spread everything around and we'll see what we have in here. Aha, looks like more banana peels, more strawberries. We've got an avocado and its pit. We'll put those together and lots of good stuff in there. And then same deal with this one. We dump it out and then we'll kind of spread it around. Here's a bunch of lettuce mush. And wow, it felt like a whole bunch of food that we put in here. And just, it shows the kind of the big size of the urban worm bag. I mean, here is the length of my arm, just like that. It is a really wide bag and it goes pretty much straight down. It has a little bit of a V in. And that helps to kind of collect the castings so they don't all dump out at once. But this is going to be a good moist feeding for them and a lot of great food in here for them. Some of the stuff you wouldn't think you could feed, like onions, and some people even say apples, or here we go, something like an orange. But in a worm bin this big, the worms will take and eat whatever they want, and they'll eventually come over to the other stuff that gets broken down by the microbes first. You'll also see some stickers in here, and the worms will eat everything around them, but I am going to take this bigger one that's loose out. I'm also going to throw this napkin just over here to the side. I'll kind of try and spread it out so that it doesn't get matted down. So next I'll go in with some worm chow. This isn't required. It's just a way for me to get a little bit more food in and to prevent me from putting my expired grains and stuff from the pantry into the landfill. And the next thing we're going to do is give them a whole bunch of coffee. Again, I would rather put the nutrients from the coffee beans into my worm bin, feed the worms, and also feed my garden. And all of this is spent coffee grounds. It also has a few tea grounds in it as well, because we do occasionally drink tea. And I'm gonna put this over here because we did some experiments and the worms actually go through it even when it's whole like this. Oh, I mean, didn't all come out because I take it right when we're done using it and put it in here, so some of it is moist. And you can see it's a little lighter color, and that's because it does get a little mold in it. And the mold is just another organism that helps them to break the food down, and the worms eat the mold as well. And fungus in your garden is actually good because it helps the roots bring the nutrients up into the plant. And as predicted, I forgot the Floofah stuff, so I'm just gonna dig right in here just like that and put it there. Hopefully we'll find it. Let me put some food stuff around it so that it gets some traction from the worms, and I'm gonna clean my hands off again. And then now we'll go in with some pulverized eggshell, just some grit for the worms. Another thing that's good for my garden and good for the worms. They use it in their digestive tract to grind up the food that they eat. All right, so we pre-dampened a bunch of cardboard, and I'm just gonna dump it all in because I wanna make sure that all that bedding that's in there already gets damp. Some more left in the bin, and I'll just kind of spread it out. I want to try and make sure that I cover all the food that we have in here, because even though this has a lid that zips up, we don't want to attract any kind of flies or anything. And the water that I do use has mosquito dunks in it, so that should help to prevent them, if they do get in here, from reproducing. All right, one more handful. That really does look pretty. It's almost like its own cardboard lid there. I hope you found this video helpful, and if you did, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and give me a like. And if you want to see how I built this worm bin and how I got it started, check out this video right here. So I hope you're having a great day. I hope your worm bins are doing fantastic. So happy vermicomposting, everybody. Take care now.